Let's try that. Hey there, lads and lasses. This here, of course, is Thunderhead 64 coming at you live from the west coast of the United States here on a Wednesday afternoon. It is a little bit past 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and that can only mean that it's time for some Generations Minecraft server with some Baby Zombie Rush. Yeah, we're doing Baby Zombie Rush today. All right. Yeah, I forgot. I've switched mics. So let me see. The output of this mic is probably a little bit lower than the other one. Yeah, maybe. Let me bring the gain up a little bit. Probably right around there. I think that's better. There we go. Now just got to keep my face away from it a little bit. Anyways, welcome on in. We're starting to stream an hour later today. I wanted to do a little bit of prep work before we got too far into things. Because we're doing Baby Zombie Rush today. And that being said, when we last left off, well, let's just cut right to the display scene. You can do it. There it is. Hey there. So where we left off here, we had completed all of these dead end features here in green. All of the dead end features in red are the ones we still have yet to finish. There's 27 of them total. That's a lot. So we're about a third of the way there. And so we began the Aqua Parkour feature. That's what we started the last time. And I think, now we went around, we labeled all of the dead ends. And I think we made that Aqua Parkour feature right here. Yeah, this is where we started. And we modified the maze a little bit. This used to be a very long run straight on down the line there, down to that dead end. We've changed it. We've set this up like this so we can make our Aqua Parkour. Yeah, we did that. Now, this feature was originally an outside wall feature. I don't know if I'll be able to do it quite the same way. I think I'm just gonna. There's a couple of differences. Okay, well, we've. Without further ado, yeah, you can tell I'm a little messed up today. Yesterday was a very long day in the car, so the whole right side of my body is destroyed from driving. My brain isn't doing too well either. But anyways, I'd like to welcome on in fellow buffoon, the mighty, the one and only Skipjack81. Of course, there's the shout out for Skip, fellow buffoon, excellent dude, and all around variety streamer. Excellent guy. Skip, I hope you're feeling as well as at least can be expected, considering your situation. I'm curious about Baby Zombie Rush. I think you've seen this stream before. I'm not certain, but anyways, you're always welcome in. This is your kind of thing. This is our kind of thing, I should say, right? So a lot of redstone, mini game stuff, really cool. And of course, number one son, logging on in there, a Biggity. We have Biggity for about one more week before he returns to university. For some reason, I do not have an auto shout out in for the mighty Skipjack. So I will have to fix that at the end of the stream. I'm doing as well as can be expected. Yeah, that's good to hear. Prepared and ready for the bad days this time around. Yeah. Some of you may remember that a few years back, Mrs. Thunderhand was diagnosed at a stage 3 cancer. She went through chemo and all of that. So I know where you're coming from there, Skip. I know what you're going through. We went through the whole thing, and she's fine now. But it was quite an ordeal. So let's flip over to the other display, and this is on what I needed to prepare. Let me see, is it that display? Yes, it is. Okay, so here's another instance of Minecraft I have opened right now, and some of you may recall this map. This is going to be very laggy because it's on my old system, and it's a single-player world, so it's just relying entirely on the system. And this system, we're also running OBS and all of that other stuff, so it's struggling. But some of you, this is the prototype Baby Zombie Rush from way back in the day. Before we made it, we brought it into its own beta world. And so we put in many, many features into this. And we reached a point where we decided, you know what? It's time to move it into the beta world and start building it up for real. And that's where we're at. So right now, let me see, am I in spectator mode? Yes, I am. Good. Right now, this is the dead end feature upon which we are working. And so the player is being hotly pursued by bloodthirsty baby zombies. They come to this waterway. They have a choice between this direction and bypassing it altogether. In our new map, we're not going to give them that choice. If they happen to run down this dead end, this is what they're greeted with. And we have some not that difficult parkour to deal with here, right? But the idea is the player can just bop right on over this, but the baby zombies can't. And the baby zombies have to start wading through the water, and that slows them down a lot. And so the player can also go through the water, but that slows the player down. So it's a little bit advantageous to do the parkour. And when they get to the end of the parkour, they can hit this button, and this door opens up, brings them into this chamber, and then a countdown starts taking place. A panel opens up automatically and then dispenses them some beneficial gifts. I think we decided we're going to have 2 gifts. Some boots with Depth Strider 3, so when they come back out, they can just blast right through the water and right past the baby zombies who will be stuck in the water. The other thing is we'll give them a shillelagh, a stick, a cudgel, with knockback 2 on it. And so they can knock back the baby zombies with that. And they'll have that for however long they have it, right? And once they reach, it's set on a timer, so once they reach the end exiting this, the dispensers that you see here along the bottom will remove the water so the baby zombies can then get out. So it gives the player a chance to at least get to the end and start to round the corner before the water drops and the baby zombies start to pursue at their regular breakneck speed. Once the cycle is figured out, it's just a matter of staying ahead of each step. Glad you got it through. Yeah, thanks. And, you know, Skip, of course, we're rooting for you, man. Definitely. Mrs. Thunderhand was lucky that she's relatively young. She's, you know, a little more than 10 years younger than me. So, and Skip, I think you're about the same age. And so maybe even a little bit younger. And so that helps a lot because it gives you the strength, right? So, all right. So this is, now we're going to have to modify this quite a bit. We've changed quite a few things. We've lowered the floor down to slabs now, and we've made the maze passages 4 blocks wide instead of 3. So that's going to change some of the mechanics of this, right? Here's the redstone we had underneath. I remember Shut Mountain and I designing this together here on one of the Baby Zombie Rush streams. And, you know, even though I had a really good grasp of, well, I wouldn't say really good. Well, no, this was a really good grasp of redstone at this time. You know, a more primitive redstone turned out to be a little bit more beneficial for this one. And one of the key features, and I think it was Shut Mountain that suggested this, we found a single row of torches powered all three of these right across. And so when it powers the middle dispensers, it also powers the one on either side. But now we're going to have a row of 4 of these across. So this isn't going to quite work that way. I think we're going to need about 2 of these. We'll see what we come up with. As far as a clock goes, what did I have for a clock? I did have a clock for this. Yeah, I think the clock is here. And it's a hopper clock. So this is going to be a pretty intricate thing to build. And unfortunately, since I modified the maze, I just can't copy it over, right? We have to kind of redesign it to fit the new maze configuration. So let's take a look at some of that stuff. What am I trying to do here? Display scene and shut that scene off. There we go. So you can see we have a little bit different situation here now, right? Now this is 4 blocks across, right? And the floor for this, the floor is not blocks. The floor is are slabs. Now the cool thing about this is maybe a dispenser below the slab will flood the floor here through the slab by waterlogging the slab. That might be the case. So let's do that. And I'm going to remove this right here for now. There we go. And we can remove the soul sand from here. Like this. So one of the first tests I want to do is I want to put a dispenser down into one of these positions here. Yeah, let's put it right about there. We'll get some dirt here. And I think we'll start with the floor mechanism. That's really the main part of the feature, and then we'll start putting some other things in here. So let's get some dirt. Please, hands, please. There we go. Okay, we can do that. And then we can get a dispenser. Dispenser! And we'll make this guy facing up like this. All right. And let's get some water. Like that. We'll load the water into here. Okay. And then the idea behind this let's see, I think that'll soft power. Button. Where are we? Button. There we are. Stone button. Right there. It should soft power right through that block, right? Yes, it does. Okay, so let's see what happens if I do this. Will it waterlog right through the slab? Oh, that's so cool. All right, and if it does, this should slow us down still. And it does. Great. Okay, this is cool. The other thing I really, really like about this is that it hides the dispensers. If we go back to the other configuration, the prototype, you could see that you could see the dispensers through the floor, which isn't a big deal, right? It's not a big deal. But you could see the dispensers through the floor. Yeah, this is really cool. Now it's even more camouflaged, right? So now one of the things that we're going to have to do is let me see. Let me recall how I did this. All right. All right, so we had the water running right up to the edge of this. All right, so for the moment, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the smooth stone slabs for right now. And of course, we'll make these more decorative and make them fit the maze or however we need to have this work, right? But one thing we're definitely going to need to do, is the very first thing we're going to need to do is load in all the dispensers, right? So let's do that. And let me see, I'll put these in at least this far. And then you know what? I'll do the same thing over here. Yeah, there we go. Okay. You know, I could do this with a fill command and just replace these with air and but you know what? It's small enough where we can just knock them out to delete them. There we go. Let's see. Let's get the dirt like this so we can get our first dispenser started. And I think we're going to go like this. Now, again, I could fill... I could use a fill command for the dispensers, but then, you know, I have to do the orientation of the dispensers, and I just forget the code for that, the syntax, and I really don't feel like looking it up. Let's just do this, all right? There's not a lot of them. Now, one thing with waterlogging the slabs like this is that the water doesn't spread. And so, yeah, we do need a dispenser for each block. We do need that. All right. So 1、2、3、4, and then we have 1、2、3、4、5、6、7、8、9、10、11、12、13、14. Okay, so that looks like 40, 56 of these. Wow. All right, and the thing is, I don't know if I can just... Yeah, I can just do that. Now, this is going to be kind of tedious. Yeah, they don't all have to be in the middle. You know what? I did recently learn a trick on how to copy like a chest full of items, and you get the chest and the items. There was a command in which I did do that, and I think I could have done that for these dispensers too. It's just that I'm an old man with a feeble, demented old mind. I'm trying to remember stuff like that. Oh, that just ain't gonna happen. So let's just load these in. I think we're good. Yeah. In fact, I feel it's a little less cumbersome to just do this way. So the cool thing about Baby Zombie Rush is the idea isn't, the goal isn't really so much to finish the game. The goal is it's really just a vehicle with which we can learn Redstone, right? That's the idea. Of course, I would like to finish the game and start inviting guests on to participate, to compete. But the thing about this Baby Zombie Rush stream has always been learning Redstone. That's been the main goal. And that's the number one reason why backseating is allowed, because I really feel that the viewers and I have built this together. We've had a lot of player input, especially early on. Not so much nowadays. There's a little bit less so. But we've had a lot of player input. And so I really feel like the community has collaborated with me on this. And even the viewers who feel like they're not really that skilled at Redstone have helped me solve some very tricky Redstone problems. And the cool thing is, I have this world preserved, so when I'm building in the Generation 5 survival world, or I'm building in Buffooncraft, and I'm designing something in there, I can remember, oh yeah, I need this kind of circuit, or I need that kind of, redstone thing or other. Oh, I built that in Baby Zombie Rush. That's right. Okay. And I can just load up the world and take a look at it, right? Okay, so we do have this, and now we can do this kind of a thing. I think I can go ahead and cover these now. There we go. Now, I believe soft powering these I believe the one next to it will also power. So what we can do is we can put a row of torches on that side, and they'll power each one in the middle. That's what I'm thinking. Where am I? Okay, out here. So we can test that very quickly right over here, right? Like this. Let's do that. Okay, cool. I think what we need to do is something like that. Now, of course, all right. Now, the way we had it was we had default state on was was true, right? Okay. And what I think we were doing over in here is we had pressure plates. So when the player stepped on a pressure plate, it started the process. Or no, default state was on. This is what we did. This is what we did. We did this. We did this. It's coming back to me now. Well, it better. I mean, we were just looking at it. Thunder, please. Oh, you know what? We can use glass for this actually too, so it'll just make it easier to. And so we can work this out like this. Default state should be on. Okay, and yes, so this will power this one and the one next to it. And that'll power that one and the one next to it. So we don't have to really be concerned with, so 2 rows of torches should do it. Right? And so when the player chances upon this part of the maze, what they'll do is they'll step on, or actually the water will already be in place, I believe. Maybe. Should I have that or should I not? Let's take a look at the maze. So if the player is coming around the corner like this, they can kind of see that. So I'm thinking oh, I can't put pressure plates over that, can I? Also, I built this wrong. This part's only 3 wide instead of 4. There we go. That has to come out to there. All right, so it looks like pressure plates are not going to cut it. So we have to think about what we want to do here. There's Shut. Hey, I'd like to welcome on in the mighty one and only friend moderator of this stream and fellow buffoon, Mr. Shut Mountain. How you doing today, Shut? Shut, I was just this feature, we're installing this feature from the old Baby Zombie Rush prototype and bringing it into the new beta version. And I was just recounting to the viewers how you and I had designed this circuit down here together on the stream. so we could get the water to drain. So cool. Ah, the memories. Meh. Just got home, but gotta wait about an hour so I can change some brakes. Oh, wonderful. You're going with pads and rotors? I remember back in the day when I used to work on my vehicles. When I was a younger lad, it always just seemed cheaper to me just to, instead of bringing in the rotors and getting them all planed down, if they were down past a certain point, which they always were if I was changing them, I just yank the rotors and put new rotors on, right? It's like, why plane them all down? I mean, if they only have a little bit of wear, I guess, but you know, I would just buy new rotors, stick them on there, new pads, calipers, just crank them on in there. Rotors are fine. Just need to change out some pads. Oh yeah, okay. That's not too bad. I remember I used to just take a C-clamp for the actuator, and I just used to squeeze in the actuator on there and just pop the pads off and then put the new one on, and then it's just bleeding them out. You just don't want to get any air in those lines, right? That was always a little tricky, trying to get the air out of the lines, because you don't always know it at first until you're driving around, and then that air bubble comes in and you don't have any brakes. That has happened before, and that sucks. So I'm trying to think of what to do here. Should I have the water already in place? Should I have the water already in place, or should I deploy the water as the player runs into this area? Having the water already in place is going to be a little bit easier. There might be a little bit of a clue of that, though. When the player is way back here, they might be able to see that, right? They'll be able to see the water there, right? They'll definitely be able to see the water at that point, but I don't know if I really care so much if they see it at this point. Because here they're kind of like, remember, they're being pursued by bloodthirsty baby zombies, so they have a split second. Should I try that waterway or should I try this way? Right? Then when they get over here, they can see the parkour parts of this, right? Yep, a C-clamp to compress the caliper, yeah. Also, rotor turning isn't a thing anymore. Oh, yeah. My thing is, yeah, the rotors are cheap enough where you just toss them and buy new ones, right? I think that's what people do, right? Oh, we bought a bleeder bottle 20 years ago and still use the thing. Oh, nice. So, yeah, I can't really make up my mind as to how I'm going to go about doing this. One of the things that kind of kills this for me is not being able to place down the pressure plates. That kind of sucks. One of the other things is starting the parkour, right? Because the player needs to be, you know, if the player is up here, then they're not going to be able to get started on the parkour, right? And so I'm thinking we're going to need at least one of these to pop up and become a step, right? And if that's the case, it's going to throw off that circuit configuration. It could start here, though. Right? We could do something like this. Yeah, and we'd probably be better off starting it right about here. Piston, right? Piston. We'll probably use a sticky piston would be the best way to do that. And that way we can insulate it from this, right? And again, I can just soft power that block that way. And we can do something like that. One of the other things we can do is use an observer. And so it'll drop the block off, right? We could do that too. And right now I'm not really like designing the final circuit. I'm just trying to get something together that'll work. I want to do something like that. And then see if we get an observer, we do something like that. It'll drop the block off, and that'll give the player time to get started up on the parkour, right? Right, and then the player can just do something like this. And I don't want to make the parkour too hard because, you know, I won't be able to do it. Can we make that from here? Almost. I think we can. Almost. No, people, we're not going to do this like 400 times. We'll be fine. Maybe. I think the player might even be able to make that one. But you got to count the blocks, right? E, san. Yeah, but they also have to jump up as well. So I think that's placed well. There we go. Like that. And I think it's this one, right? Yeah, there we go. I don't know if I can make that gap or not. Okay, there's something we have to consider too. Well, I mean, I'm in creative mode, right? So we have to consider we can't let the player get up on the wall, right? So this would be high enough, I think, right here. Don't toss them, you turn them in on a... Yeah, you can get refunds, right? Yeah. Kind of like batteries and stuff like that. Sometimes you drop the battery off. If you give them the core back, right, you can get a discount, right? You can find shops that turn them, but yeah, it isn't always cost effective. Yeah, it's I find it's not worth it. Although I haven't done my own brakes in quite some time. Yeah, you know, if you have the puller for the bearing, yeah, why not, right? You've already got the wheel off and you've got all that apart. You got laughed at today. The man who hates parkour creating parkour. How ironic. Well, I wouldn't say I hate parkour. I just would say that I hate me doing it. Or hate the fact that I can't. Shot, why did you get laughed at today? I don't know if a baby zombie can fit under that, but I think a baby zombie can fit under that. So something would pop up here, right? When the player came through here, something would pop up, and then they would think, because there's not going to be a lot of time. So by the time they get, this would pop up, they would see the water, maybe start splashing through the water. Oh my God, like this, and then start going through, right? And this would slow the baby zombies down considerably. But the player should be able to outrun the baby zombies, right? Now the baby zombies are still trekking across here. The player should then get down to this side here. Secret panel should open up, let the player in. The player should be dispensed some good tools and stuff like that, and then be on their way. What I'm thinking of here, though, is just having the button. The panel opens up with the dispensers. It just spits out the goodies. You grab them, and then you decide, right? Then you, or actually, you just have to run through the water and juke them on the way back, right? This I probably won't have on an observer. I'll probably just, yeah, I don't want it to drop the block off. It'll just rise up and drop down. This, I would like these to be able to pop out of the wall. That would be cool. So let's look at this. If I'm here, can I make that from there? Probably not, right? Yeah, probably not. That would be cool. What to do there? Because I think you can see it would be very easy just to make pistons that pop the blocks out of the wall. So instead of slabs, we could just have blocks. Oh, wait. Well, I don't know. This would show, though. I was thinking, you know, if we just had a stair pop out. Now, the stair probably wouldn't show as much as a slab would, but went to get a Hep B vaccine today, and they asked me if I was nervous. I told them no, I just hate needles, and they laughed at me because I have tattoos. well, shut. I mean, come on, man. It's a block and a half height, so no, you wouldn't be able to make it. Yeah. Right, because, well, here, from here, yeah, it would be. It would be a block and a half, wouldn't it? Yeah. And if I did something like this, where this slid this over and then the piston pushed it up, then I wouldn't be able to get up on that, right? So I can't do that either. So I definitely want to start there. Or, like I said, there. You know, and I don't really have anything that could push like one of these slabs forward. So Now, some of you, more advanced Minecraft players may think that this parkour is way too easy, but remember, you're being pursued by bloodthirsty baby zombies, all right? Just remember that. Like this one could... That could be a full block. Yeah, see, these ones here could be full blocks. No problem. This I don't want to be a full block because I don't want to give them access to the wall. Can I make that from here? Well, yeah, I can if I do it right. Ah, hands, please. Please. This is why I can't parkour, people. I have hands that don't do as they're told. See? Hands are not doing as they're told. Hands are not doing as they're told. Brain knows what to do. Hand knows what to do. But they just won't work together on that. I think I'm the only person I know that the more I practice something, the worse I get at it. Because it's just probability for me, right? I don't master the skill. So it's just how many times, the more times I attempt it, the worse my chances get. Yeah. See, I should be able to make this with that extra coyote jump like that, right? And again, I don't want to give them access to the top here. But I'm thinking we can have the pistons popping out of the wall there, right? And moving the whole block out. So it would help disguise that, right? It's just what to do about this part here at the beginning. That's pretty obvious. It's from here to here is the problem, right? So I don't really know how to solve that. Then they said that is very common that people with tattoos don't like needles. Well, I mean, if you're combating that existential dread of needles and you get, pretty extensive tattoo work done, then man, that's really something, right? I mean, it's one thing if people aren't bothered by needles, but if you're bothered by needles and you get that many tattoos, that's some commitment there. You know what I mean? That's it's what I used to say about sparring when I used to spar at the dojo. People would say to me, "Wow, you're really brave because you just get right in there and you fight the big guys and everything, younger guys, big guys, and everything." And it's like, nah, not really. That's not really courage. Because even though I know it's going to hurt, I know I'm going to be all right, right? So I'm not conquering my fear to step in the ring with those guys, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, I definitely have concerns. But that's not really fear though. So that's not really courage. It's not courage without fear. That's what I call just merely a casual indifference towards failure. That's not the same thing as courage. Some of my dojo mates there, are terrified when they step in there, and they do it anyway. That is courage. That is like worthy of respect. Especially some of the females when they're getting in there, they're terrified, and they get in there and they do it anyway. That's real courage. Like, I have a lot of respect for that. Because they're not just, trying to master their skill and stuff like that. They're fighting stark raving fear to try to gain control of themselves so they can perform that. So that's really respect worthy, That's true courage, right? Okay, so how are we going to solve this? We need to come up with some sort of situation to help with that. What can I do about that? Chat, what can we do about this? What I would like to do is I would like to have this vanish into the floor, which is no problem at all. But I would like to have a block vanish into the wall, which is quite a problem. Say that's not going to work because, like Shut's saying, it's a block and a half, and so we can't make that. I was thinking maybe a slime block and the player gets launched into the air, or a wind burst maybe. So I don't really know what to do about this. I said I was going to work on the water system on the floor, but I kind of got sidetracked by this. So I want this to retract into the wall and look like that when it's done, right? And that's easy. You just do a piston with that, right? So it would be something like this, and then when it retracts into the wall, it's like that, so you don't see it again, right? Those are the best kind of features, right? So if you happen to get turned around in the maze and you come back this way and you just glance over here, you won't notice anything. And I'll remind you that this won't be the smooth stone slabs. They'll be the regular floor slabs. So, you know, this may look different to the player when they're running by this way again. So anything that we can return to its normal state, that's better, right? So what do we do? Like I was saying earlier, we could use a stair here, right? But I think when the stair is in the wall like that, maybe it's not that noticeable, but eh. And if there's redstone like a piston behind that, which there will have to be, this will stand out like a sore thumb, right? Yeah, you'll see that right in the wall like that. And I believe if I put a stair this way, I mean, that's not quite so bad. That's kind of cool. I mean, it makes it a little trickier to get on top of this thing. When it's retracted in the wall, it looks like that. One of the things I can do to help disguise it, I suppose I could, for example, the plain, just the ordinary Blackstone stairs like this. They don't have any edge features to them. So that kind of blends a little better. So I might do something like that. I mean, that's not quite so noticeable. So maybe that is a good solution to that, right? And it's cool because with the stair here, this isn't immediately obvious, right? That you can make it on there like this, right? If you're trying to do this, you're not going to make it, right? So you got to sort of aim for this outer edge there, right? And so that's a little trickier. So I like that. I think that's a good enough solution, right? I mean, that doesn't look so bad. Right? When that's like that, I think when you're running through here like this and you just glance at it, it's not quite so obvious. And the other ones will be just blocks, right? So the thing is, though, now I'm on this one. Can I make it from here onto that one? I think so, right? I think that's doable. And if I have to move it a block closer, that's not a big deal. Yeah, something like that. Now, I don't know if I can do a coyote jump over to that one. I think I can, actually. Well, I'd probably have to be in survival mode, right? Yeah, that's totally doable. Totally doable. All right, so something like that. All right, so now we got to figure out some sort of trigger. Heading out now. Have a good rest of the stream. Biggie, hey, drive safe, buddy. Biggie off to the gym. Let me see. Let me take out. Let me do a little moderation here. Bye-bye. There. Good. All right, so now we have to figure out some sort of way to trigger this. And I don't want to use something as obvious as a tripwire. Here we may have to use a command block. I would like not to have to do that. But I'm not seeing any way around it right at the moment. Yeah, I don't want to use a tripwire hook and a string and stuff because that's too obvious, right? We'd be able to see that. And the thing is, I can't use a pressure plate. All right, hey, we're at the halfway point of the stream. I would like to take a quick break, 3 minutes to run some ads, and then I will be right back. There we go. And we're back. I should be in standing mode. Especially considering how much driving I did yesterday, which was way, way too much. We had to go down to Kachi's pediatrician, and then all the way up to Kachi's school, and then to Kachi's music school afterwards, and then all the way home. It's, oh my God, so much driving. All right. Display scene. Okay, we have to figure out some sort of trigger for this, and as much as I don't like this, I think I have to use a command block here. I just don't see how else I'm going to be able to do this. Most of the other dead ends are activated by buttons. So a player gets around to a dead end here like this. That sign, of course, won't be there. But they press the button, and then it triggers whatever dead end feature this is. This dead end feature is a little bit different, right? This dead end feature is more or less like this. Not more or less, it is like this. Player comes around the corner here, decides to come down into here, triggers something, and then they see this fill up with water. Now, hopefully that gives them the idea that, hey, this will slow down the baby zombies, but it'll slow down me too. But, oh, wait, I can go over them while they're struggling with this, right? They may opt to just not do this because, especially if they suck as bad as I do. Right, like this, and then they'll go through, and then when they get down to the end here, then they can press the button, right? So there is that. So how to trigger this? When they cross this, this will pop up. These will pop up out of the wall, and then the water will be dispensed. And the timer will start, I'm thinking. Or maybe not. Maybe when they get to the end, they press the button, it dispenses the goodies, and pressing that button will start the timer to then reverse all of this, right? They will go back through here, dodging the baby zombies. Now they have the Depth Strider 3 boots, which will not have any mending or unbreaking 3 on them. So they will run out during the maze, should the player survive that long. And then just break, and that's it for those. But they will have the shillelagh, the cudgel, right? And so they can whack the baby zombies out of the way, get over to here. And so while they're doing that, pressing the button will start the counter down to reverse this process. Right? And then hopefully by the time they get to right about here, the water will then retract. The baby zombies will start to rush forward, and then they can get back out into the maze. Maybe they can recognize where they were, and then they'll come down through here. But the challenging part now is to try to figure out how to do this. And I remember working on the Moon event with Shut and Flying Villager and Lone Star. I remember Shut had figured out how to, with command blocks, do player detection. And I forget how to do that. I would have to look that up. But basically what you do is you set a command block nearby, and you identify either the blocks or just an area through which the player traverses a pawn. And then that activates, right? That makes things happen. One of the other things I'm thinking too is, what if players do this and they run in and they run out and they run in and they run out like this? Not a good idea, right? Because you'll have the redstone activating, deactivating, activating, deactivating, and it'll cause problems. So again, trying to predict the human nature. Maybe have this strip right here be the triggering strip, right? And so they cross that. They cross any of these 4 blocks here, and that'll start the process going, right? This will pop up. The baby zombies will start coming across. But I think we can set this with the command block so it'll only activate with the player. These will pop out. You'll be here. The baby zombies will start across there. And you know what we might do? We might also have the water sprout up here too. Because if the player runs across here and then this activates it, that'll spring the water up, push the water up, and then the baby zombies will start swimming across the water here. And that will give the player a few moments to decide what to do. Do I try to juke them and get back out? They may die. Do I try to run through this water? Maybe I can make it through by the time they get to here, right? So it could be another thing where maybe the water only is for 2 blocks here, right? Because if it takes the baby zombies too long to get across there, then the player can just run through the water here and not even have to do the parkour, if you think about it, right? So it's all like player prediction, and this is what I'm very bad at. So I'm thinking maybe just 2 rows of water here. So the player will run across here and then activate it, and then boom, 2 rows of. So the baby zombies will start swimming across. It won't take them long at all, but it will slow them down, I figure, just enough for the player to just have a look at them, say, oh my God, this. Oh wait, I can parkour across this. They'll be slow going through the water because they'll see them slowed down going through the water here. All right. They parkour across the top. And if they fall, they fall. They get in the water. They'll still be ahead of the baby zombies. They can just swim the rest of the way through and hit this. It'll dispense the goodies. They get what they need. They put on the boots. They get the shillelagh. They can't parkour back. Right? And so, yeah, they start going through. I like that. All right, some things we can do right off. I know I'm not going to be able to put that triggering system in because I just forget how to do that. And I'll have to look that up and get the command for that. But in the meantime, we can work on things with the remaining time in the stream that we do know. Let me see. What's my 1, 2, 3, 4, right? But that one's only 3. Again, I like to make these dead ends all look very, very similar if I can. 3. That one's 4. All right. It looks like 3 or 4, right? I'm going to. I feel like right about here is probably a good place to put it for this. This project is a marathon, not a sprint. Marathon or sprint. Being pursued by bloodthirsty baby zombies, yes. Welcome on in, of course, the one and only Jeppo-tastic. Jeppo, how are you doing? I've missed you so much. Hey, yo. You all can see the auto shout out up there for Jepotastic. Please go check her out on her next stream. And of course, Jepo's been doing a lot of traveling lately, so whenever we see Jepo, we have to ask, Jepo, where in the world are you today? If you... Hi from the Netherlands. Okay, so we've left Asia, and we are now in the Netherlands. Okay. A significant number of our viewers and fellow buffoons hail from the Netherlands. Now moved to the Netherlands. Okay, yes. Okay. Oh yeah. Call Me Eve Gaming is probably our most prominently Dutch buffoon. But Real Foolish Sage, if not from there, has spent a good deal of time there. I forget if he was born in the Netherlands and moved to Portugal or vice versa. And I believe one of our viewers, Mini Rebel, might also be from the Netherlands. I think. We could send a scouting party out. Scouting party with stroopwafels. Yes. Please. So Skip, I would say, is our newest buffoon. I believe so. Yes. Skip, Jepo, Skip. So Jepo is one of our viewers and co-streamers from way back in the day. And Jepo is used to seeing this, or probably recalls seeing Baby Zombie Rush and this prototype of it from way back in the day. And so we're installing this, what I call the Aqua Parkour dead end feature here. We're installing this into the beta now. Of course, we can't just copy it over block by block because, as we mentioned at the beginning of the stream, I've changed the layout. The maze passageways are now 4 blocks wide, and the floor is made of slabs now, not blocks. And so that changes quite a few things. And so where we are at right now is we've worked out the layout that we're going to use, at least for the parkour. We've installed some of the dispensers. I'm thinking of another row of dispensers, maybe at least right there. Possibly right here as well. These will, of course, dispense the water up from below to waterlog the slabs. And therefore, slowing down the baby zombies and the player. However, the player will have the option to parkour over the water, making it quite a bit faster for the player to cross, while the baby zombies have to slog through the water, and then they will then find themselves at the end here. And then if they wish, they can press the old button here, and it will open up a panel on the wall and dispense out some leather boots with Depth Strider 3 and a stick, shillelagh, a cudgel with Knockback 2. And so, and maybe some food or a potion or something like that to help them out. And then they can go through here again. They'll have the Depth Strider 3, and the cudgel, so they can wade through the baby zombies, knock them out of the way. And hopefully by the time they get back here, pressing that button will have started the clock to then reverse all of this. It'll drain the water. The baby zombies will no longer be waterlogged, and they'll start scurrying right across this at their normal speed and continue pursuing the player. That's the idea. So getting it perfected bit by bit. Pew 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 stick. Well, sort of. Yeah, we have been working on this stretched out for a very long time. Right, because I really only work on it like 2 hours a week. Collectively, though, if you take all of the streams and put them together, this is the prototype, and this all together only works out to be about maybe, you know, if you consider working 8 hours a day, a work day, it only works out to be about 3 months, I think, of work. So yeah, it's taken a long time, but yes and no. You know, it's 3 or 4 months worth of work. And remember, most of this is me just figuring this out on stream with the viewers too. I'm not like, you know, bent on, you know, completing this at a certain deadline and launching it and all that stuff. You know, we're just in here trying to, you know, build cool stuff and learn Redstone, really. So magnum opus. So we've concluded that we're probably going to need some sort of command block to trigger these blocks here. And just, you know, for those of you just joining us, Juppo, we can show you how the waterlogging works. So when the player crosses probably these blocks here, maybe these ones, I'm not really certain, it will trigger, the command block will trigger these to be powered, and then these will, certainly not these ones, but all of these will then be flooded with water here, right? And it'll slow down the baby zombies, right? But the player will be able to parkour over the water. If they fall, they'll be still a little ahead of the baby zombies. Then when they get over here, they'll press the button. It'll dispense the goodies. Our timer will start. They can then, you know, knock back the baby zombies. Get out of my way. Get out of my way. Run back out through here. They'll have the depth start of 3, so they can go cranking right through the water. And then hopefully when they get to right about here, the timer will run out, and drain the water back. It should. Why doesn't it? Oh, I think I know why. This is creating a water source is why. But what's going to happen is you can see all of these are dispensers. So it'll activate all of these and it'll drain all the water out. Yeah, it'll drain all the water out. So for the moment, we could just do that just to drain them. And then, of course, the baby zombies will come barreling out across this. which will be bad news for the player, but it won't be that bad. Because the player will have a significant head start. The player should be all the way over to here by the time the baby zombies, when this drains. And then the baby zombie should be right about here as the player's running away. So we'll have to work out the timing for that. I like the texturing. It's developed quite a bit. Do slabs change this mechanic at all? Yeah, so I just demonstrated that, right? More fun than a barrel full of baby zombies! Funny you should mention that. One of the dead ends happens to be like a, kind of like a barrel full of baby zombies. Let me see, that's lava drop trap. Yeah, it's one of these. But I'm kind of, no pun intended, at a dead end with this one right now because I have to review. I have to look up how to set up a command block to trigger when a player crosses over some designated block coordinates. Yeah, I've got to figure that out, and I didn't look that up ahead of time at the beginning of the stream, so prior to the stream. So I think I'm just going to work on some other features. Hey. One thing Jeppo, I would like to show you, though, is this feature right here. There we go. Of course, these signs won't be here telling you what things do. So it drops you down into a maze down below, some tunnels down below the maze. This looks like danger. Oh, yeah, it could be. Like some of the baby zombies could fall down through this with you, and you could be running from them. Oh, yeah, I can't. This will be blocked up. But then we have suspicious stews. Suspicious stews. Down here, just randomly in the tunnel down here. And so the player will be able to open up a chest. The dispenser here will dispense a random suspicious stew. Suspicious stews can have detrimental or beneficial or just kind of neutral kinds of effects on the player. So you only get one and then it's disabled. And then the player will go on their way through the maze. On down through here. And I may put some other features in the tunnel here. I might. But we're going to have at least that one. And then this timer should close these. There it is. We just have to adjust that timer so it closes a little bit faster. And then it completely disguises this exit, and then the player goes on through. So, but Suspicious Stews. Suspicious Stew was a character that I had that I was going to debut on the Generations survival world. But I decided, you know what? I'm going to use him here first in the Baby Zombie Rush. Sounds kind of sus. It is absolutely sus. And so, yeah, that was the last feature we had completed. And then now we're moved on to this one here. So we do have a progress board set up. We have about 27 dead ends that we need to do. We have about 9 of them. We're a third of the way there. We're working on dead end number 11 right now in the Aqua Parkour. But we do have 2 other very large features. We have the anvil launcher that is at the end of the maze. And we have the open area in the maze too. So some of you stalwart viewers from back in the day may recall those two features. But those also have to be installed somewhere in the maze too. So, but you know, we did number all of the dead ends. We did organize them all and list them all. And so green when they're completed, red when they still need to be worked on. And here we are. We're at this stage now. So one of the things we can do right here is we can work on the system, putting the system in place that will dispense the goodies when this is pushed. We can do that. Now this is kind of tricky to do. We did build one of these. Where is it? We built two of these actually. You can see the redstone is pretty big over here to be able to accomplish this. I'm hoping I can do this in a more compact place, like just right here. I'm hoping this will be enough for me to fit it in here, but I'm not really 100% sure because what has to happen here is, at the very least, these two have to be retracted backwards, and then these two have to be pulled out to the sides, and that usually requires quite a bit of space. But I'm up to the challenge of seeing if I can fit this in here. Well, Thunder, it's getting pretty late here, so I'd better be away for... Hope you have a great rest. You know, thank you so much for dropping in. Jeppo, I'm always very pleased to see you. You know, have yourself a good night. And hopefully I can catch you during your next stream from the Netherlands. So what I'm thinking is this kind of a thing, right? Where these will pull those blocks back and then these will pull these pistons over. It's just, do I have enough room for that circuit? Maybe I do. So I'm thinking, you saw the size of that circuit down, and I got that pretty compact, but I think I can shoehorn that into this kind of a thing. Hopefully I can. One of the challenges will be running the power over to the top of this. That's going to be a little difficult. So default state for these is going to have to be on. That's going to be kind of hard to do. You could do something like... And you know what? One of these, I just may need one of these. So, because this will soft power the piston next to it, right? And activate two of these like this. And so we'll get something like this. I'm thinking I might want these also in their extended state. It might not be enough there. To do so I think you can see something like this, right? This would be the idea. And then because this torch powers both this and this one powers both this and this. So we could do something like that. But it would be a matter of then turning these torches off. So it could also be something like this, and then, well, that's not going to work, is it? There's going to be a little asymmetry here, but it could do something something like that, right? I really don't like that. The asymmetry is just killing me here. But this would be the idea, right? And then these would retract first. Those would retract second. But we also would then need the dispensers. All right. Oh, actually, I've heard the front door here. I have to run over there and check that out. I will be right back. Okay, and we're back. Sorry about that. Just had to check the front door. Just deliveries. Mrs. Thunderhand's deliveries. Okay, you know, while I was doing that, I was thinking, you know, we don't necessarily have to have the same kind of dispenser system we have over there. If I'm not mistaken, a dispenser will push items right up through a slab. I think they will. Let's try it out. So, it might do it. Because if this is the case, this is going to be so much easier. Again, I can do that for the soft power. The button right there. Okay, and we'll cover these. Well, first let's load it up. We'll just put some torches in it like that. I think if I do this, yeah, see, and then it just pushes it right up through the floor. Probably not as well as I would like it to, but if the player is standing here pressing the button, it should pop right into their inventory, right? I think that's the way to go. And I don't know if I can do this to improve it. That improves a little bit. I think that's good enough. I really don't think that we have to do all of that. So I think we'll have them, because I think the player here would be like this, and they would probably be standing right about here when they push the button. I think as long as they come out right through here, this might be a better place. Now, we do have to be careful that we don't run into this kind of an issue over here. We have to keep away from those. But these will come right up through the floor like this. That's a good thing. And this is one of those things where the button will have a dead switch. This will be a dead switch, so it only works once. So we can load these things up we can just load them right up. But if we fix this up, rig this with a dead switch, it'll only dispense once, and that's it, right? And that helps me with restocking this afterwards, right? So one of the ways in which I do this is to do something like that. Let's just remove these for the moment. And then the button, what the button does is the button activates this and will push the piston down. Sometimes we can do that too, and it may not show from the outside. It does a little bit. But we can have it pick up the block and drop the block off. I think that's what I have it doing. So it works on the case of an observer like this, where let's get a sticky piston here. And the other thing is, it also doesn't have to be right here, but you'll see it. I mean, it'll be obvious from either side. We'll do this for right now. And then like that. See, this way you can't see the piston, right? So in fact, I think what I'll do is I'll bring it over to this side, only because it gives us room for the redstone. We can do that. And the idea is if we activate this fast enough, for example, with an observer, we can have it pick up the piston and drop it off. And if we use the T flip-flop with this, yeah, there we go. I think I can rig this with the copper bulb. This should be soft powered by that. There it is. Like that. I think we need a comparator coming out of the back. It's been a while since we've done this. Because the comparator needs to read the state. And it needs to be facing that way if it's going to do that. An observer needs to see that. It's just thinking of the best way to place the observer. There we go. Now, we could do some things like this. Where the observer is just observing this comparator, right? So when we do this, this will output a signal in the back. Let's do this. There, like that. So you can see it gives it that little flash. And it's nice. Before I used to have this water system with a bucket of water and a dispenser, which is kind of cool actually, but it's like, yeah, you know, we don't really need that nowadays. If I'm not mistaken, we can have an observer reading this observer, an observer reading that one. Hold on. Okay, good. Now we can have an observer reading this one. Like that. And then we can have this observer reading that one to see this. And that should do it, right? but it doesn't pick it up and drop it off. So you know what? We may need the double action for this. Yeah, actually, we might be kicking ourselves in the butt here. We may need the double action. Double action's a little slower. But it's not a bad thing. How am I doing for time here? I've got 5 minutes. So I'm thinking that, right? Then we can do this. And really, if we're doing this, we might be able to just get away with that. Will it pick it up and just put it down? No, it won't. Okay, so we still need the observer. But we're a little... Okay. All right, I get it. I totally get it now. Yeah, I think it's like... I think the idea is like... Might be like that. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's not going to work. Bubba. Okay. Yeah, because this won't change state, so we need at least one block of there. But we're really at the end of the stream anyway, just about. Still, I don't mind going past the stream a little bit here just to get... How do I want to do this? Could have redstone there. And then here. I mean, it's a little janky like, but let's see if that works. That's pretty compact too. Yeah, it picked it up and put it back down. And that's what we want. And see, the idea is it's disguised now, right? And so when I do this, right, we can now see that block from below. Okay, so we can, an observer now can see this. Come on. Please, please. There we go. Like that. Now, just for now, I'll put a, well, There you go. Pretty cool, huh? And so we get that kind of thing. I'm wondering, we might not even need a copper bulb. We do get an on and off though. So if I use a copper bulb though, if I use a copper bulb and I do this kind of thing, and then I use a comparator, like that. We can then get an output from that. And see, we only get one activation, which is really cool. Yippers. Nice. And if I took a regular piston, set said regular piston here, put a redstone block, this is the kill switch. So we would get this kind of thing happening. Now, this is going to have to push 2 of these, which isn't a big deal. Please, hands, please. Just, if you could just do the thing, that would be great. See, out pops the torch into their inventory, but then if you try to use it again, nothing happens. Because this being a regular piston, not a sticky piston, it won't pull the block back. And so it's a one-shot deal. Which may be okay. If the player is in some other part of the maze, though, and they come running through here again, I don't know, and they do the parkour again a second time, I don't know, I think they deserve to have this dispense again. But on the other hand, you know, them sitting here just clicking this, and then getting more and more and more and more and more, you know, I don't know. So we'll have to think about that as well. But okay, that should wrap it up for this session here. I like the progress we've made so far. Before we do log off, though, let's remove this because we've come up with a much better way of doing things. And there we go. Yeah, I like that better. Okay, and let's open up some of this so when we're here the next time, we know what we did. That's important. We'll do something like that so we understand. All right, we have everything pretty much laid out. We understand how that works. We get this with the dispensers underneath. We should be fine. We should be fine. And then just in the event that someday I may return to actually editing my VODs, we'll pose there for a for a thumbnail. I should really do that again. So each time I would upload a VOD and then archive it on YouTube, I would actually I would select the thumbnail. I would create a thumbnail for it, and then I would put in all the title, the notes, the tags, all of that. And I haven't done that since February. So I believe it was February the last time I did that. So I guess I should really get to doing that again. Anyways, it's 3:05 today. At this point at the end of the stream. I have to leave in an hour to pick up Kachi. Let's see where we're at. Well, that pretty much decides that we are going to raid out to a genie. Let's do that. And since we're raiding out, we have a chance to show off this month's redeem, which is, probably best used in service of a raid.
I have a radical idea. We'll cross the streams.
Excuse me, Egon. You said crossing the streams was bad. You're going to endanger us.
Not necessarily. There's definitely a very slim chance we'll survive.
What I think of. That's what goes through my mind every time we do a raid or somebody raids us. I'm thinking of that scene from Ghostbusters. All right. Let's set up our raid for Genie. There is the raid message in the chat. You can copy and paste that into the chat if you would like to join us along on this raid. And I always encourage the viewers to join us on these raids. Even if you can't stay for the entire stream, at least drop in, say hi, and if you feel so inclined, a follow, some bits, some subs, that would be really, really cool. Let's set up the raid itself. Here we go. See if I can get my hands to work. And there we go. We have the raid for our fellow buffoon and good friend and co-streamer. Cheska's Genie is counting down at this very moment. Just remember, family-friendly viewers, just a heads up that her stream is intended for mature audiences. There's some language and some shenanigans in there, but she is super cool. We have a lot of share community, so chances are there are people in there that you're going to know. Just remember also that we do this generation stream every Wednesday, typically from noon to 2. Today I started a little bit later, but from noon to 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Our next stream shall be Friday. That'll be from 11 a.m. to 1 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and that will be Buffooncraft SMP Season 6. We have updated to 1.21.9. Happy guests. Gaston, everything, the whole thing. Yeah, it's so cool. So cool. There's a lot to see in Buffooncraft right now. So please make sure that you log in for that stream. At least watch the VOD. You'll not be disappointed. It's super cool. We have a lot more activity now on the server. The stream after that will be Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That will be Kachi time. Kachi and I, last time we streamed Gary's mod for Half-Life. I'm not sure what Kachi wants to do this Sunday. We'll have to see. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, your evening, your morning, wherever you happen to be. Join us again next time. We are raiding out to Genie right now. Bye for now, everyone.